this is my Vise, and it's okay. The locking base needs you to really crank down on it to work, and it clamps to the edge of the desk, which, while useful in some ways, isn't what I'm looking for. And these soft jaws, they've never fit. So I think I can 3D print a better one. How hard can it be to make a Vise? So, while I show you some of my designs for the Vise, let's talk about what I actually want. I want some adjustability in the Vise. I'd quite like the ability to print custom jaws for whatever purpose I need to. I'd like it to attach to the top of the desk, the clamp to the side. It's fine, but it doesn't suit my purposes. And I'd also like a working swivel base that actually locks in place. So, let's 3D print some parts. Now we have our parts printed, we need to install some threaded inserts. And I'm doing this using the press I've made in my last video. There's such a joy in using tools you've made to create another tool. Now we're working on the lead screw. This is just an M8 threaded rod. It's going to have a nut on the ends that goes into this little insert. It's going to be held within the moving jaw, which is going to push and pull it. And gloves on, because I've learned my lesson. I hate super glue. Now we need to install some inserts into these runners. I'm not quite sure what you'd call them. They go inside the tracks of the swivel base and actually allow the vise to lock into position. And now for the swivel base itself. To install it onto my desk, I will need to drill into my desk, but that's fine, I'm never going to move it. This is just going to be held in with 5 M6 bolts with nuts on the end. And yes, I did fight my drill a bit. If you're enjoying the video so far, please like and subscribe. Now it's time to cut the lead screw to length, and there's something weirdly sinister about using an old vise to create a new one, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And after wrestling with the saw a bit too much, a drop of oil on the blade went smoother. And it's super glue time again, so gloves on. Anyway, you need to attach the fixed jaw to the rest of the vise, and that's why I've cut down the lead screw. My hope is to use the moving jaw to index it, and hopefully it goes in as square as possible. And after some fighting with the super glue, I realised the nozzle is glued shut. I can't express enough how much I hate super glue. And I was trying to be thorough, but used a bit too much glue, and there's a little bit of glove stuck to the vise. It's fine. And also on my fingers. Now, we've gone for the tap here, M3, rather than heater inserts. It's fine. They're not going to need to withstand big forces. This is just to hold the handle in position. Printed this ring, the holes on it line up with the holes on the handle. It's going to screw onto it. This is 1 to avoid super glue, but 2 so I can take it off if the handle breaks, because it is plastic and I will be talking on it. It's a vise. Now to mount the handle, I'm putting 2 nuts on the ends and tightening them against each other, which locks them where they are onto the rods. And there's a hex hole in the handle that will index onto one nut, and then a larger recess, just so I don't have to model in another nut hole at a weird angle that I don't know until I try it. After a frustrating few minutes with this weird bendy screwdriver thing, I wasn't getting anywhere. I realised I was using the wrong size bit. Yeah. but I did eventually get it screwed on and it held in place fine. Now the base. The swivel base didn't quite work out how I wanted it to originally, and that's for a very obvious reason now. There's nothing circular for the base to reference against. There's just 2 points and they move as 2 points. But it worked out quite nicely. I just printed this little circle that fit into this hole that I put there to cut down on print time. So I taped that, added the base, brushed it on, and then it's that time again. Now, look what's happened here. The nozzle has glued to the lid. I hate this stuff so much. But it's fine. I found some, I'm not quite sure, metal implement. And I'm going to use the tape to hinge it, shove some glue under, and it should stay in the same place. And this is fine. It's not going to need any strength at all. This is purely for alignment. Now, bit of an issue with the moving jaw. The dovetail slot is slightly too big. The inserts don't fit well, as opposed to the fixed jaw, which they fit perfectly. Now, I think this is all to do with the orientation of the printing. The fixed jaw was printed as is, and the moving jaw was flat. So, I'm going to put some tape down, see if that adds enough friction for the inserts to stay in place. Now, I could try and print another one of these with tighter tolerances, but what's that saying? Something about perfect being the enemy of good, or don't be good, or try not to be perfect, something like that. And what do you know, this worked great. Added just enough thickness for the jaw to slide in properly and stay in. It even worked for these relatively heavy thick jaws that I made. Now, let's test to see if it actually works. First we can try out the swivel base and see if it actually locks on this vise. Now, this vise isn't perfect. It's better than I thought it would be, which is something, but it's not perfect. It does lock in a swivel position, which I'm so happy about. And as I knew, it is mounted on the top of my desk. But there is one issue, which I will come clean and say I knew this was going to happen from the start, and that's in the way the vise is designed. There's different types of vices for every purpose, and well, this is the issue with this kind. As you can see, there's good contact in the middle and gaps in the sides, which, because you're pressing down into the middle, it's going to open up the sides. That's just how it works. With more rigid metal vices you can get away with it, but it's fine. It's only a desktop vise. And as you can see, once I stop being too scared to crank down on it, it holds fairly well. Now, it's not going to win any strength prizes, but again, this fits my purposes. this vise was never going to be about clamping down really hard on things. It was more about how versatile it can be in all sorts of situations. And it can stand up on its end, which is quite cool. Thank you so much for watching. I had a blast. See you next time.